Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Fortress, and I'm joined today by a man I'm calling the Ted Lasso of truth, Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
Why, thank you. I do sport a fine mustache from time to time. Boy, I could not have dogged that more.
Welcome to the world that we're living in, everybody. And he's living in the world of Take-Two's Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear. And Sean was wrong last week about Adrian Palicki. She's not in that one show. She's in another one.
She's in the Orville. She's in the Orville, not Strange New Worlds.
Thank you for making my dream come true, Adam.
and I hear you. I got it wrong. I am sorry, everyone. Thank you for correcting me, and thank you for paying attention. Yes, I got it wrong last week.
I like to think of it like this. They listen enough and care enough to say something.
That's exactly how I'm taking it. That's why I'm not like, now listen to me, nerd. I'm glad people are paying attention.
Yeah, somebody's got to. And we thank you that you have downloaded this here podcast. And we're talking about the Wonder Woman pilot from 2011. It feels like it was longer than that, though. I don't know why. Feels like even though it's
I can tell you why,
though,
because it feels like it feels like 2004, 2005, doesn't it?
It literally feels like it's like the late 90s. Because it's before, right? It's before like everything was like handheld and trying to be cool, right?
And
which is what they would have done.
And also it's unfinished, like they didn't completely finish the post, so it's probably lit brighter than it would have been, and the effects aren't quite finished, so it definitely does have about 90s era level of effects. But yeah, man, this movie really feels like it is something from an era other than the era from which it comes.
And it sure does feel like no one really checked out to see what corporate culture is actually like. So we're still in that zone of like, business lady doing business. I am a businesswoman, and gosh darn it, I know my business.
I'm doing business things.
And I guess we were still under the influence of Nolan's Batman, because they do decide, hey, we're going to make Wonder Woman a stone cold killer. Like,
oh, right. You're right. That pipe through the neck. Right.
But boy, I guess we saved that for the show proper. I'm getting ahead of it.
We'll get into all of that. But before we do, we want to say a big thank you to the people that support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get the pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, all that kind of good stuff. And Whitney, we got your thing last week, but we will get you. Sweet Shawnzy is crafting up the most epic of storylines for you. We want you to know that we see you. You're there, but your story comes next week. Sean, how good is it going to be? Is it the best?
I shall try my best. Let's put it that way.
I'm not trying to, put him on any impossible thing here or anything, but I feel like.
But you just did, so thank you for that.
I do what I do.
Gooseneck would be a popular nickname.
This guy loves some gooseneck. I don't know what it is about it, but I think the man is in the mood for a holiday goose. We're past all that, Bruce. I don't know what's going on. But
necks.
That's true. Support us over at patreon.com/HMP if you want to be like Whitney and all the other fine people over there. And if you can't do that, just drop us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify, a.k.a. Humdinger. We really appreciate that. I would play you a trailer right now, but get this. In 2011, for a pilot that never actually hit the airwaves, they did not make an appropriate trailer for it. Now, honestly, I did look around to see if like a fan had made a trailer. Somebody did make a fan trailer, but it didn't include like anything really from that, but like a couple of shots and stuff, but everything, nothing to do with the story and everything. It was kind of cool looking, but it had zero to do with this. So no trailer. Bruce, you want to try to sing the Wonder Woman theme song from the 70s? Maybe that'll kind of.
Wonder Woman, do 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 do. Wonder Woman.
It's pretty close to that, So
the world is waiting for you,
Wonder Woman,
in the something that you do.
Oh, Wonder Woman.
That's all I got.
Yeah, me too.
Some of that sort of stuff. Well, you know what time it is.
You shoot bullets at her, she blocks it with her hand.
All right, what do you got for us this week?
Elizabeth Hurley.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Hurley portrays Veronica Kell in this ill-fated television pilot. And, as you may have surmised, she is a character from the comics. She was created by all-around cool guy, Portland's own Greg Rucka, and she first appeared in 2003. It's crazy to me that Greg Rucka has been in comics for 20 years. I still consider him one of those hot new up-and-comers, but I guess that probably says more about my age than Rucka's. Now, Kale is kind of your standard gender-swapped Lex Luthor, but she does have some traits and characteristics all her own. For example, in the comics, Veronica Kale grew up in the bad side of Dallas. How does that sit with you? Are you getting a Texas white trash vibe from Hurley's performance here? Because it had me saying yeehaw and get along little doggy and all kinds of Texas stuff. I've never really spent much time in Texas. I don't know what they say.
No.
I even two-stepped a little bit, but you know, I love dancing. So she started a pharmaceutical company, back on target here. This is Veronica Kale. Started a pharmaceutical company, which was a great choice for a turn of the Millennium villain. Also kind of prescient, considering the real-world OxyContin scandal. I mean, has there ever been anything closer to a real-life comic book villain than the Sackler family? Like, just Google them. Read some of their quotes. It's enough to make Dr. Doom cringe. Now, Veronica Kale has been consistently written as a character motivated by an envious resentment for Wonder Woman, whom she believes to be undeserving of the esteem she receives as a paragon of feminism. She resents Wonder Woman for finding acceptance in man's world so easily, much like Lex Luthor's resentment of Superman's status in Metropolis, and finds her message of peace simplistic, reasoning that it's easy to preach an end to conflict when you're a super strong demigoddess. I mean, who hasn't felt that way before? Oh, and also, speaking of super strong demigoddesses, hey, Adam.
Hello. My. Well, if that wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this Wonder Woman show, a.k.a. Hot Woman Palooza, because this sucker's got everything. We got the hot lady from the Orville in a horrible wig, but she's 5'11", and they put her in heels. Gentlemen, start your engines. We got Elizabeth Hurley, who you should follow on Instagram. You'll want to jump out of a building. She's so hot. Carrie Elways is looking like an expensive man who hasn't showered in days. Joan from Rent is here. We got a baby-faced Mandalorian detective. Ryan frickin' Gosling is in this bad boy. No, for real, though.
No way.
We got Sepia Old Times Open. Nope, it's just 2011, and they still have no idea how to shoot the hood. I guess you shoot it half like Boys in the Hood and half like Do the Right Thing. Doesn't really work. You're Going to College celebration, followed quickly by a eye and ear bleeding. Bit of a day wrecker there. Hollywood Boulevard chase. Powder runs amok. I wouldn't run from you, Wonder Woman. Leaping over cars, smashing into a Ford Taurus, increasing its value threefold. Lasso roping at the Egyptian Theater. A Wonder Woman logo worthy of American Gladiators. Nancy Grace, y'all. Nancy Grace is in this movie. You just better watch your mouth, but don't worry, Dr. Phil's here too. It's all right. We'll be right back. Home and work interiors that no one on this planet would ever live or work in. Throwing out accusations on live television. That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how that works out. Board meetings, because that's the type of Wonder Woman show you want to see. Giant chowder buckets on an action figure. Merch talk. Perfect teeth. Steve Trevor flashback. Seems like she could beat him up. Maybe Steve being gone isn't so bad. Looking like Tom Brady's stunt double. We got friendly lady smack talk. Small wing soaring through the city to a hospital to see the kid with the bloody eyes. Okay, that seems weird. Wonder Woman interrogation scene. Rico charges. I never really know what that means. Tough guy security meeting. These are the rules, boys. Eye rolling, choke holding, whip cracking, neck snapping, container kicking and jumping, long pants and star-spangled briefs. I'm a fan of both. Unfinished special effects, but what could be the most dangerous part about being Wonder Woman? Dating. Oh, David E. Kelly, what did we ever see in you? Oh, and I may have to explain how I have absolutely nothing to do with this show being on the internet right now, despite all the facts that might lead you to believe otherwise. This movie has everything.
Wow.
I say
what did that last comment mean?
I don't know.
That last comment means is if you go on the Internet Archives or
the South Carolina,
or you pirate this.
WBTV, yes.
I used to work for WBTV. 2011 was a year I was working at WBTV.
So it could have been Senor Portress.
It was most assuredly not me, but like I just found that hilarious of like, oh, I used to work at that news station. Oh, I worked there during the time that this was made. I certainly know I had nothing to do with it, so don't try to blame me. But
we're firing you again, Portress.
Yeah, exactly.
Fire Portress. You already fired him. Hire him right away so I can fire him again.
Exactly. That's what it would feel like for sure. But yeah, I'd seen this thing, like I said, it'd come on the internet, and people had been talking about it, and you could just easily pirate it back in the day and stuff. And so I had done that. So had you guys seen this prior to?
It got leaked on YouTube, so it was really easy to watch for a while. But no, I had never seen anything other than just some stills from it.
Yeah, I'd never seen it. This is my first go. And I will say this, I'm gonna tip my hat here, tip my hand here really early. Last week with The Spirit, 1988, 1987, whenever that was. That was the good kind of bad. This is just the bad kind of bad.
Oh, this could be interesting because I think I'm kind of really liking our topic this month, but I'm not trying to argue that it's a good movie, but it's not a bad experience in some ways to watch, especially if you live through it and you have like questions.
Oh man, this doesn't pass the phone test in any way. Every single time they get like, once they've bumbled over their own feet with things like giving her three different or the fact that, like it's like the corporate jargonness of all of this is just all bunk. Like it's that stuff there where it's just like, yikes, man.
And what in the heck was going on that this script was able to attract Carrie Ulwes, Elizabeth Hurley? I mean, this has a pretty good cast.
The answer is David Kelly.
Yeah, it's money, and it's David Kelly.
And what was David Kelly best known for?
Ally McBeal.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I get confused with TV creators.
Wrote a whole bunch of LA Law and stuff. Like that guy, like he was one of those dudes that's just kind of been in the business for just a long period of time, and like he was really on a hot streak at that point, and it was just like whatever that dude wants to do, they were letting him do.
And seeing
the practiced Boston Legal, that's all him.
Yeah.
But none of that says Wonder Woman to me. And
no, like, that's why when his name came up as like, hey, here's the guy that we're going to be doing the Wonder Woman show, we were like, okay, I get it from like the woman perspective, fine, but I'm like Ally McBeal is not Wonder Woman in any way, shape, or form. So let's see what he does, and here's what we got.
No, I didn't realize he directed it till his name comes up on the credits as I'm watching this week. In my mind, like I had like firmly burned in this false memory that it was either J.J. Abrams or Joss Whedon or somebody like that who tried to bring this.
Well, David E. Kelly didn't direct this.
No, he just produced.
But he's still the guy that like got it made. He's the
he's the showrunner,
producer, showrunner, writer, all that.
And it kind of just surprised me that it landed with him because I had such like memories of it not being with him.
Yeah, there's part of me that almost like before this week and watching it, I was just like, I was running through my head. I'm like, I know David E. Kelly was in this. Like, did Joss Whedon have anything to do with this? I'm glad he didn't. But
he would have been a hot get in 2011.
I think he may have been too hot of a get. Exactly. I think he would have been too hot of a get to get in 2011 for this, because I think that, what are you doing then? You're not the full in Avengers yet.
No, but he's probably with the Buffy show at this point, right?
Yeah, and Firefly has already had its time, so he's really well respected for cult hits rather than massive commercial successes.
Probably wouldn't be going to a CBS television.
Except for that one thing he wrote called Toy Story. That did pretty good.
Yeah. Everybody like remembers that as his first credit too, because that's what he's known for.
But that also
but I mean, the people who know who he is are like, I mean, the people who hold the gates open know that he's the guy who wrote it.
You know what? Correct.
So let's talk about our Wonder Woman here, Adrianne Palicki, the Wonder Woman no one talks about because no one really saw this and it wasn't official.
I'm kind of a fan of Adrianne Palicki. I liked her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I haven't really. I mean, I saw that Aquaman pilot, but I don't remember her performance in that at all. I just saw that she was in it, and I never really watched that much Friday Night Lights. I think she had a pretty big role there, but I really liked her on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I was thinking, oh, you know what? I could see her as Wonder Woman. Let's go check it out and see what happens.
Yeah, for me, it was just kind of like just a bunch of cameos and stuff that she'd done in like little, just small TV stuff I'd kind of seen her in and everything. And then, of course, she would go on later to do your bigger stuff like, she was in
And
John
I'll
Wick
say,
for like 5 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, a big part of me liking her as Bobby Morris is also because she's pretty attractive. I don't know if you guys noticed, but
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
lost on.
What I loved about her being cast in this when I saw it initially, and which is something that I feel like, I don't know if Darwin Cook was the first person to do it, but it's the first person that I kind of noticed it doing it, is making Wonder Woman properly a giant person.
Yeah.
I definitely give Darwin Cook the credit.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
Maybe somebody else did it beforehand.
That's the one I think
he
of.
brought it to the light of day, I'll say.
Yeah. And so having her be 5'11" and then putting her in heels and everything is just great. It really kind of
smart move.
It gives that character the size and strength. And when you throw on the whole Amazon thing that we know of Wonder Woman, when you see this girl kicking guys' butts, you don't go like, "Oh, this is the most unbelievable thing." Like it's credulity for what it is, but you don't you don't go like, "Oh, she couldn't handle herself, this tiny little lady." No, she's a big lanky gal.
Yeah, I like.
Yep. I'll say that
kind of creepy because he said she's a big lanky gal, and I said I like it, like I was into the legs or something.
First and foremost,
I really like large women. They're gonna be really tall.
As a man whose ex-wife was 6 feet tall, I'm into that. So they up there, put on them heels, girl.
But you're six. What, 3?
Yeah, so I ain't afraid.
I mean, it's not weird. That's not weird.
Yeah.
That just makes it easier to kiss.
Yes,
I mean,
true.
it's
Weird
easy.
if you're like hanging out behind the gym after WNBA games because you got like a 7-foot bench.
Yeah, girl, I need that step ladder to get up.
Boy, if all of the major stars of the WNBA know your name and you're not in any way affiliated with the WNBA, you need to be put on a list.
Yes.
Oh, great Greg's back again. Get moving. Carrie Elways, I don't know why.
I sure would like to climb you.
There's a short king thing going all over the place. Carrie Elways, why is he in this thing? I just don't know. I feel like he doesn't belong on television ever. I can't see him on TV.
But here's the thing about him is that he does weird stuff all the time. I don't know if you guys remember or not. He used to be on Psych all the time.
His career is nowhere near as impressive as you think it is.
Right.
Like myself included. When you start looking at his credits, you're like, you'd think the guy from The Princess Bride should never make any losers, but boy, he has. I mean, even the Saw thing kind of struck me as weird.
Even that was amazing, though. Like, honestly, Saw was, not to say that I was bad on Carrie Elways, but that's kind of like what turned me to make go like, oh, maybe he is this guy beyond The Princess Bride kind of thing, where I was like, oh, he's really kind of, it was a role that you didn't normally see him in, which was great.
Yeah, he has really kind of given the idea that he'll say yes to things based on his availability and not the quality of the project.
Yeah,
and I know I'm involved. And I know I'm going to hurt some feelings here, but when he agreed to do Robin Hood Men in Tights, during the phase where Mel Brooks is just making bad movies, and I know I'm saying some things that are going to offend some people. Some people love
Part 2 coming out soon.
I know it, but that's probably not all written by Mel Brooks, is my guess. To have him in Robin Hood Men in Tights, it kind of makes sense now. At the time when that came out, I was like, he's doing this movie, really? Because there was no one less funny than Mel Brooks during that time. The Dracula Dead and Loving It stuff. It was really bad.
Almost all of his movies during that period opened the same way too, with a bunch of stuffy white people rapping, and that was the joke. There's nothing else to the joke. The lyrics weren't particularly funny. Nothing funny going on while they're doing it. That was the joke, and that's when I realized the guy, it's okay to retire.
Hey, listen, if Eminem has taught us anything, it's white people and rapping hilarious. Hilarious every time. I did not.
Are you going after Eminem there?
No. Listen, that's just me being awkward and stupid and saying things that counter that are not true.
2 rules: never diss Carrie Elways, and never challenge beef with Eminem.
Carrie Elways is Eminem in 8 Mile 2, 8.5 miles.
Yeah, I would love to see that actually.
The thing that shocked me though. The thing that I said, even having had seen this previously, I didn't look at the IMDb before I threw it in. I was like, who in the heck is this guy? And you look for half a more second and you go, Pedro Pascal looks like he's 12 in this thing. And it's so great.
I didn't even recognize him when he first showed up.
No, it took like a scene.
Second scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that second scene is when I recognize him.
And kind of crazy, man, the stuff that he's been in. Like, he's also in Wonder Woman 1984 and also in other failed pilots. The guy has worked a few days in his life.
Sure.
Well, and from what I'm to understand, if everybody's saying stuff, this new Last of Us thing that he's in that's premiering this evening, or as now out as you're listening to this, he's pretty good in that too, from what I'm to understand. So,
oh, maybe I'll check it out. Isn't there like a famous child actor in that one too, or something?
It's the little queen from Game of Thrones.
Oh, the Mormont lady?
Yeah, Mormont.
Oh, I gotta watch this.
Yeah, I because I was kind of like, I kind of want to see this because I've heard so much about how this is the first really great adaptation. And then when I saw her picture, I was like, is that the little queen from Game of Thrones? And it is her.
I gotta watch it. That she's so great.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, but I do like the very visible jet. I like it that the people writing this didn't think they needed to know that much about Wonder Woman.
What do you think about her whole like the job, like the whole, the conceit, the David E. Kelly-ness of it all, of dragging Wonder Woman into this, like now she, instead of like Wayne Enterprises, it's Themyscira Enterprises, and she's got this marketing stuff. And
can I weigh in on this? Because here's my thing with all of this, right? So she's got 3 different identities. Yeah, she's Diana Themyscira, which seems like it's the main identity she has.
None of them are secret, though. That's the thing I want to make clear to our listeners.
Well, the third one is, though. The third one is the secret identity. But Diana Themyscira and Wonder Woman, everybody knows these 2 people are the same people.
Yes.
But no one knows that Diana Prince, who is also Diana Themyscira and Wonder Woman, are the same people.
I totally missed that.
Yes.
No, I totally wondered why the heck she would occasionally like wear her glasses and pull her hair. Man, how in the heck did that go over my head?
So because it's confusing.
It's not told well, yeah.
But over my head. I just thought it was part of an incomprehensible plot.
And so here's the thing, right? So okay, so you're Wonder Woman. Okay, check. Like, yep, that's fine. We know that you're Wonder Woman. Okay, so you are the head of this corporation. You're Diana Themyscira. You're a busy lady. You're a multimillionaire who is very well known. You have your own action figures. Yep. Okay, that's fine. You're also Diana Prince. You have a house that you don't always show up to. You are sitting on a couch. You have a cat. Like you can't take care of that cat. You have too much going on.
Now, who dated Steve Trevor?
Diana Themyscira dated Steve Trevor.
This would be interesting if you were in a love triangle with Diana Prince and Diana Themyscira.
Oh,
but here's the thing. Let me get to my point. Damn it! So my point is this. So you have okay, fine. You have these 3 different things. What is the totally unbelievable part is that she leaves work as Diana Prince. She goes grocery shopping. And then she comes back to her little tiny apartment, which is this very small apartment where there's a cat, and she's watching The Notebook while eating potato chips. Nope. This is literally the moment where I'm like, nope, we are done here now.
I was just so confused. I had no idea what was happening or why at that point. I honestly don't know what I thought. I thought she was just like uglying it up for her own recreation or something.
I'm at the top of the world. Now let's just go and live in this dungy apartment with my cat. Huh?
It's so ridiculous, especially since I'm very certain that the Diana Themyscira character also has her own probably palatial mansion somewhere, or some penthouse apartment somewhere. And you have to keep up appearances that you're there also, which means this person never has time for anything. So there is no way that she is going to the grocery store before she goes back to her crappy little apartment so she can watch The Notebook and sit on her crappy couch with her cat. No. No, sir. That does not happen.
I like to think at her other house she has a little setup like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, where there's like a cutout of Michael Jordan on a train that just goes around in a circle, making people think she's home.
We just have to assume it all would have made sense if it had gotten picked up and gone to series, right?
If it goes to series, is Carrie Elways actually a villain?
Sure.
I think so. I think there's a good enough chance that he could be. And like, frankly, at this point, 2011, they could lean into that, and I think people would buy it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised, David Kelly, as you had said, a connection to Ally McBeal, sort of the way this is set up, particularly with the potential to be patently ridiculous. I'm surprised we didn't get a little fourth wall breaking, maybe something like a proto She-Hulk type show out of this, because I could see some parts where that might have fit in and made this a different experience.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. David E. Kelly totally could have done that because he was experimental. Like actually, that was Stephen Bochco, wasn't that wrote Cop Rock?
Yeah, this David E. Kelly says, well, you know what we need? A CGI dancing baby.
Yes,
right.
That's the kind of thing that
that's the outside of the box thinking that you need in order to make DC television jump and shine.
Boy, I got to tell you, did my aunties love emailing that thing to each other on Yahoo back in the day?
I'm sure.
or AOL even.
Elizabeth Hurley, holy crap! It's just like, why is she so good looking? It doesn't even make any sense.
Oh, it's ridiculous, man.
It
is
Bedeviled.
What's that?
Is that what it's called? Bedeviled or something? Where she's like
Bedazzled.
Bedazzled, and you need to see the original because the original is 1,000 times better movie. However, Elizabeth Hurley is in
that one. So
I've never seen the movie, but I spent a lot of time with the trailer.
It's a good
costumes. Is my boy Brendan Fraser in that also?
Yes, yeah. Bedazzled. Yes,
nice.
But the original movie is Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, and they made it for $11, and it is so interesting and great. Whereas this is the one with Elizabeth Hurley. While it's really, really fun to look at Elizabeth Hurley in that movie, there's not a whole lot else going on.
This is the time when you're about at that Brendan Fraser level where you're like, all right. Like before no one likes to talk about it, but there was a moment where his career just kind of started sloughing off a little bit.
It's
and that's
true.
Where
You can't be George of the Jungle and Dudley Do Right. You can do one of those.
Yeah. You can't hit them all, man. Can't hit them all.
And boy, there's value in doing some licensed properties, but once you start getting on that fourth tier license, maybe you should just pass.
It's true.
But
he's in talks to do Tom Slick.
Oh, everybody's begging for that one.
Tom Slick.
But yeah, Elizabeth Hurley just
Dudley Do Right versus Underdog, that crossover.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't do that actually.
Just wait.
Did we talk about Wonder Woman's very visible jet yet?
You were talking
but
about.
I like those. I like the idea of those tiny little single jets and stuff that you can I don't know how realistic any of that crap is.
I just don't know why they didn't try to do some kind of effect to make it look invisible. Like, do you think they would have? Because we know famously that what was released didn't have final effects done, but it looks like they did more effects than it would have taken to have an invisible one.
I think you're probably right. Maybe just to have like some sort of like weird kind of that clear Terminator filter kind of dealy sort of idea going on.
I've always liked the old jokes and memes that would go around about like Invisible Jet was just because the comic book illustrator couldn't draw a plane, so he said, "Oh, it's there. It's just invisible."
I can draw the outline of a plane. How about that? Pretty good.
But yeah, she does have that thing though. It's more like a Star Trek shuttle or something like that, like it used to get from one place to the other in space more than an airplane.
Why does she need that at her advertising place?
Yeah, exactly. I've got a question for you historically with the Wonder Woman Invisible Jet, Bruce. Does the Invisible Jet come from the Super Friends or was it in the comic book?
It predated the Super Friends. I'm pretty sure
it does.
It's a William Marston Moulton creation.
The Invisible Jet is.
Yeah, originally it was a transparent plane, not an invisible jet. But yeah, like I'm thinking it was Golden Age.
Oh, wow.
And I've got some reprints of some Golden Age Wonder Woman comics. Maybe I'll research that someday, but not today because I got to
you learn more about knots and stuff.
Yes. So the biggest cultural impact, as a person who still remembers the discussion around this, like when this was being made, it was being talked about and production photos were coming out, and many of us just assumed it was going to go to series, because there was like you say, David E. Kelly attached to it, the casting, it was getting a lot of media coverage.
Yeah.
And the biggest cultural impact I think it had was the debate about pants versus shorts on Wonder Woman. And like nobody was happy with anything.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because you can look at this as kind of a precursor for, the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman stuff, of course. So, like, how do you try to make this outfit that historically has, worked well in comics, but when you put it into the real world, always looks kind of silly? I mean, like, even in the Linda Carter era, it's like, sure, it's iconic. It looks like what it's supposed to look like, but it also looks like a weird, silly comic book kind of thing.
Yeah, it also looked like it got dad to watch with his kids, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because I listened to like a really quick thing of her talking about the show and everything, and she's like, "Well, I think we would have more than likely actually re-engineered the costume when if the show actually got picked up or whatever," because she was like, it was almost impossible. It would take her a half hour if she had to use the bathroom.
Who's she? Adrian Palicki?
Adrian Palicki, yeah. She was just talking about how like it's almost impossible to get out of that thing all the time and stuff, but you can kick a little bit in it, but not as much as you would imagine. But I thought it looked good. I like both of them for different reasons. Both of the different outfits.
I know that originally there was a costume that's not even shown in the pilot, but the first draft of the costume, people didn't like the pants. But it wasn't that they didn't like that they were pants. They just looked too rubbery. So they changed the material and people were like, you know what? Nah, we like legs better. And they complained about the shorts. And then we see her in the shorts at the end of this and they released those stills and people were kind of like, some people liked it. And then suddenly there were pants defenders that had been silent until there was a possibility of going to shorts.
We've been silent for far too long.
I remember all this. And I kind of feel like if this had been picked up before it aired, they would have settled on one costume and it would have been consistent. I don't think that they would have had the weird, unexplained costume change in the third act.
Well, it just goes to show you how great that Wonder Woman costume is in the Justice League movies, the Snyder Justice League movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, whether you are a nut job Snyder defender on the internet, on Twitter, if my Twitter feed is to be believed, or if you don't like the movie, like most people are like, it was fine. The one thing that you can't, that no one is complaining about is that Wonder Woman costume looks great.
Yeah, no one's going like, oh, this isn't right. It doesn't capture what No, it totally does.
I don't know if I remember it accurately, but I think I'm partial to the one Kathy Lee Crosby wore in that thing we watched.
With the high collar, the onesie with the high collar. Me too.
It's like I need a Wonder Woman, but in an Evel Knievel jumpsuit.
Exactamundo.
That's what I'm going as for Halloween this year, by the way. I'm going as Evel Knievel.
Oh, that you're going to go as
Kathy Lee Crosby.
Crosby's Wonder Woman.
Man, I don't have the ass for that.
Me either. I've tried, man.
It's just not curvy enough.
I can't saunter into the room at a level that I am comfortable with. I'm not doing it.
I try to dress like Kathy Lee Crosby's Wonder Woman. I get to the party and people go, look, it's Fat Elvis.
It doesn't even have the good theme song. It's got that lame theme song.
The one thing that, like, when I originally watched this, that again still like gave me some kind of like maybe there was an inkling of something in here was the action stuff. The fight scene was actually pretty good. It was decently shot for television of 2011. If you added in the final special effects, take away the ropes that are, obviously there, and when the lasso comes, have the full, because it's probably only fully animated, maybe one shot, I guess. But that little action scene made me kind of go like, oh, if this would have went to series and they could have had some like really neat action stuff every week, maybe you could get through all of that boring stuff like Lois and Clark, where you just go, let's finish all this relationship crap and get to some of the action,
Don't mention those two names to me.
That really felt like that's what this show feels like, is the predecessor to that show. Like that's why it felt so old to me, is that, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I never would have put two and two together when it comes to that. It really feels like Lois and Clark worked 10 years ago. Let's just do that again.
Yeah, it was fun, and like, we got David E. Kelly, who like is known for the female-led, wanting to be a strong female lead and everything, and struggling with the dating and life and all that stuff. That's what the guy was known for, and that's like clearly what they hired him to produce and give to them.
Yeah,
and for better or for worse, that is what they got. They got David E. Kelly's Wonder Woman all the way.
Is there singular blame for why this didn't get picked up? Which, by the way, I'm kind of shocked it didn't get picked up still. Even seeing it, knowing it's not great, I think people would have watched it.
I think just how much it cost to produce is probably what made them say no. And not just with the effects, your star power, your producing team is a very expensive producing team. You've got a very expensive property. I'd imagine Wonder Woman is not cheap to produce.
Yeah, and it's like I forget that it wasn't actually like a Warner Brothers production; it was licensed, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
But what if you pushed this show 3 years forward or backwards even? I think like this show does better if you do either one of those things.
I think you got to push it backwards. I think you push it forwards. No way.
But no, not okay. When I say push it forwards, perhaps I don't necessarily mean push exactly what we have what we've received with this forward. That's not necessarily what I mean. I mean just like, would this movie have, or this television program, would it have done better had it launched in like, your 2013, 2014s
by 2014
when your CW stuff was coming out, but make it more of the CW kind of style, less of the Kelly stuff and more of the Berlanti. WB, more Berlanti style, but with all of this crew, I guess.
Part about what made Berlanti's style work is he had to work with second tier characters. Like they weren't letting him have the Justice League other than Flash, which is, people were still surprised to let him have Flash, but Flash had never really worked on the big screen. But by 2014, it was clear Wonder Woman was a movie franchise and not a TV one. And just knowing the little tiny bit I do about the characters that were on and off the table in 2014, there's no way it would happen. I'm kind of surprised they were letting it happen in 2011. It's so close to that threshold there.
Yeah. And when you ask that question, Adam, about, if you push this back or forward, is it the same show or is it with a modern retelling?
Yeah, it's not necessarily the same show, but it's more adaptable. Like if you had this basic idea, not produced specifically this show, but basically we need to make a Wonder Woman program. I think it does better if you move it 3 to 4 years pre or post where this lies.
Did JJ Abrams do Alias?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think you push it back to about that era. You give it about that kind of budget.
0405. Yeah, I could put this in that.
I think it would work pretty well.
Yeah.
But by 2008, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. 2008's a sort of a watershed time where I don't know what would work and what wouldn't.
Yeah. 2005
there's also
done well.
But there's also the thing that's happening in this show that I totally forgot about it, and I didn't write the note down. But it's that thing where there is a new sort of superhero stance, and I'm not just talking about the 3-point drop, that joke. Uh-huh. There's a new way that superheroes and that they hold themselves now in TV and movies, and in this show, Adrienne Palicki's still holding herself when she's dressed as Wonder Woman with the old way, where you put both your shoulders back and you put your fists on basically the back of your hips.
Yeah.
Essentially like Halloween costume picture pose.
Right, exactly.
Show me your Superman when you're 8.
Right, and that's what she's doing in this show. And it's so outdated, and it feels so outdated when she's doing it. Whereas, Gal Gadot is posing as Wonder Woman. It's just different style posing.
What a difference a decade will make, I'll tell you that.
Well, when every other movie is a superhero movie, you're going to have...
Yeah, you start to get in a couple of reps and see where people are kind of missing the mark and just go like, oh, but then at the same time, too, you say that, and then we get a Bloodshot.
Oh, man, but what a joy that movie was. I mean, now that it's not the last movie I've ever seen in a movie theater.
That's the shared trauma we all have, is that fear that we're going to die and never see anything after that.
But now that it's
You're
not,
going
now
to
that
your
I've seen-
grave with Vin Diesel on your mind. Congratulations.
like what a funny terrible movie.
What do you think what do you think Pedro Pascal would have done in this thing? Because like he's not super defined here, but it feels like they definitely want him to be a recurring member of this show.
So the more recent television show Lucifer.
Yeah.
And there's the lady cop who kind of is the liaison between the police department and Lucifer.
I'll take your word on that.
Okay, well, I'm picturing that's what Pedro Pascal was going to be. He's going to be the one cop that, like the rest of the police, looked at Wonder Woman as doing things the wrong way, but he knows that only she can take care of certain problems.
Oh, yeah. He's kind of
liaison.
like, he's not Commissioner Gordon, but he's kind of low-level Commissioner Gordon.
That's where I'm going with this, is that, Bruce, I think that you're giving the people who make the show too much credit.
Yeah.
It is more dumb that he is basically Jim Gordon. He's Wonder Woman's Jim Gordon.
Oh, and you know what I love about that? The second scene where they're together, where they're on the rooftop there and everything, I think very specifically, and I could be wrong, this is just a guess, but I think Pedro was like, listen, y'all can't have her in the heels in this scene. because if she put on those, like, she's already a little bit taller than him, she'd have put on those heels, she would have just dwarfed him, and I just don't
forget the apple box. You need the pineapple box then.
It's bad. Like I could, in all the other scenes she's wearing heels and stuff, but in that one very specifically she is wearing flats, and it just felt like Pedro was just like,
that's funny.
Throw me a bone, guys.
That's so weird, because before he got famous, I heard that he was a huge New York Sparks fan.
Always hanging out back after the
always hanging out back around their cars and stuff.
Hey, my man.
Hey, ladies, never ride in a car alone with Pedro, okay? Make sure there's at least two of you.
Do not get in the car with Pedro. He seems nice and he's really handsome. Do not.
He's going to have too much fun. He's going to have too much fun. You hear what I'm saying?
If he says he wants to ride, what's that beast called that Mandalorians ride?
Oh, God. Why'd you put me
Mudhorn?
on the spot like that?
Is it the Mudhorn? Is that what the
Something like that.
It's super close if it's
If
not
he
that.
says he wants to ride the Mudhorn, he's not talking Star Wars.
Yeah. Come on down to this Razor Crest, baby. You know what we're talking about. And I think he has a tall thing too, just because like when Gina Carano was on The Mandalorian, she was taller than he was, and then when you see her versus The Rock in the Fast and Furious, you're like, oh, she's not that tall. So I just feel like Pedro was just like, listen, bro, just put her in flats for the one scene.
Come on, guys. At least let me stand on the two side of this apple box.
Yeah, something. I'm like, listen, you got to stand in front of this green screen here on top of this building because we can't afford to put you on a real building rooftop.
How did you guys handle the big shocking end, though? Like the cliffhanger, like knowing that we won't ever know what happens with Diana's love life, because we found out that Steve Trevor has married.
Doesn't it look like she's logging into Facebook?
She is.
Is that not what that is? That's because
She is logging in.
That's what it looked
People
like.
had Facebook in 2011. This is not
Yeah.
an old
I
show.
know, but I was looking
It
at
feels like it should be. It feels like it should predate the internet, but it doesn't.
you're right. It feels like that's what I'm saying. It feels like she should be on
It was like
MySpace or
90.
something.
Yeah, it feels like it should be 98.
It doesn't, I was just like, okay. But that's at the same time, too, we had this like really cool action scene and all this stuff. And then we just take a big old giant nap at the end where they're like, let's recap and do all this other stuff. Leave us wanting more. You know what was great about 24? When the episode ended, you were like, oh, man, I can't wait till next week. This episode
Maybe
ends and
it's
you're like,
good
she's
that this-
going to sleep with her cat. Who cares?
Maybe it's good that this one ended with a little bit of a diffusement since we never got to see more of it. I'd hate to be on the edge of my seat for the rest of my life.
Yeah, you don't want to keep those expectations too high.
So
I actually did the public a service and took away the killer ending it had and put this in instead.
You're welcome.
It was for our own benefit.
So on 24, Adam, when he runs into that mountain, when she runs into that mountain lion,
Uh-huh.
you were like, oh man, I can't wait for the next week of this show. I wonder if that mountain lion's going to eat our main character's daughter.
One of the best things in television history. Would have only been
God.
better if somehow it happened during a wrestling match, you know.
I'm glad it was a cougar and not just something like, oh, it's just a feral dog from the neighborhood or something. At
Oh
least
yeah, that you're
It would
not
be
wrong.
better if it was like an elephant that escaped from the zoo.
Hey, listen, Stampy. That's what you get. They both are on Fox. You can just bring them right on over. It's fine.
Oh man, is there anything The Simpsons hasn't done?
No, in over 30 years, no. They're pretty chock-a-block full of just about everything one could possibly imagine.
We should do a special Dinger Zone next week where we talk about every single episode of The Simpsons.
Well, that'll take a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, though, like I was kind of like, to me, most of this show doesn't really work, but like maybe I'm just sold on the action scene enough. It gave me enough of a like, oh, there could have been something in this show, but I think the David E. Kelly-ness of it would have just ate everything, and Lois and Clark style just destroyed this program as fast as it got created. It wouldn't have lasted as long as Lois and Clark did, and which lasted way too long.
I really did kind of enjoy watching it being a little rough around the edges, though. I kind of like seeing some of the wires in the wire foo. I don't know why.
You kind of forgive it a little bit.
It did. It did add a bit of forgiveness. Whereas if I was just watching this show full on, I would have been full eye roll the entire time.
But there's definitely stuff I actually had fun with, but not in a way that anyone who created the show intended. It's kind of like dissecting a frog. You're not saying that this is a beautiful frog necessarily, but boy, you're amazed at what's inside of it. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of like dissecting a pilot. I'm watching it. I'm like seeing things that are kind of cool. And I feel like, oh man, I'm getting a view of this process that I maybe don't always get once it's more thoroughly finished.
I always say I started here a movie podcast so I could get my hands in the goo of comic book movies.
And look.
He says it all the time. It's super weird.
I do have one last thing I want to say, and then I think we might want to move on to the Stallone connection. But when she's in the boardroom arguing about her Barbie doll thing, her action figure, and she says, and she uses the word that's not chowder buckets, the vulgar.
Yeah. One of the 7 words you can't say.
Yeah, there's a couple of them where they're like,
says, do my hootsits look like this? And I couldn't help but think, yeah, they kind of do. Like, yeah.
Like you're stacked, sweetie. You look good.
She has an unrealistic body. I mean, she's a real person, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. But it's like that argument is lost on us when it's like, you clearly hired her because she looks like exactly like the doll.
Yes, of course.
It's just that part was poorly timed, because Callista Flockhart saying something like that, it works.
Yes.
Adrian Palicki saying something like that, you're like, oh, roll your eyes. Like, this is where the writer and the other people making the show do not get along.
Can you believe that Clarissa, I can't say it properly, Flockhart is still married to Harrison Ford after all of these years?
Really?
Of course, man. They're probably like a wonderful, adorable couple.
How boring is that dinner got to be?
Oh my Lord!
I swear to God, both of them have got to be some of the most boring real life human, like fine actors, but like real life, just like.
Oh, but there is a certain happiness and just boredom in certain aspects of it.
And don't forget, Ford's got some pretty great stories, like crashed another plane today.
Yeah, crashed another plane.
Does she just roll her eyes at this point when he crashes another plane? Just goes like, there I am.
She's been married long enough. She gets it all when he finally has that last plane crash. So she's not worried.
Harrison, that means you got to do Star Wars again. You just crashed another plane.
And then when she gets the $100 million inheritance, she's calling up Zac Efron, and now who's the sugar mama? It's like there's going to be people tracking a chain of Harrison Ford's money from older actors to younger actors.
Like Nick Cage's comic books, just with Harrison Ford's money.
Yes, you're like, okay, so then went to Callista, then went to Zac, and then Zac got old, and he got some person who's yet to be born. You just track it through the generations.
I got that Patriots game money. Woo! All right, before we get to our final review, we have to find out how this bad boy relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Ew.
Hello, Mr. Stallone. Brianna Vinskus is from Wilmington, North Carolina. She plays a reporter in this Bad in a Bad Way TV movie. Weirdly, she didn't get her start in Wilmington, because for those of you who might not know, a few movies and TV shows were shot in Wilmington, most notably Dawson's Creek, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and Matlock. But don't ever go there. Don't ever go there. Don't even visit. It's a filthy swamp filled with Southern fried Jimmy Buffett wannabes and dirty, leathery skinned cokeheads that believe their ugly muck town is the Riviera of the Southeast when it's actually the New Jersey of redneck beach towns. And Brianna Vinskis is from there. Now, to her credit, she got out of there as fast as humanly possible. And I'm going to guess her life got instantly better after she left. And she's been acting since 2007. But she also works behind the camera as well, mostly as a production assistant. But I bring her up today as the Stallone connection because in 2021, she did 2 episodes of the TV show This Is Us, which also had a guest spot by you, Sylvester Stallone. Now, this show doesn't come up much, but when it does, I make sure to talk about the fact that the show should be called Feelings, the TV show, because that's all the show is. Scene after scene of people speaking out loud about their feelings, and everyone's always crying. And there's this one actor that when he started was morbidly overweight, but by the end of the show, he lost all that weight. And so I'm sure there's multiple scenes of the guy talking to his still very large wife saying how much he still loves her now more than ever. Even though in real life, if this was a real life situation, he might say that, but he would be lying. In real life, he would always be judging her and making, quote, helpful comments, end quote, to help her with her weight. And that's only if he's not already cheating on her. But Mr. Stallone, I'm not here to speak about the evil that lies inside of all men. I'm here to speak to you about actress Brianna Vinskis. And the last bit I'd like to tell you about this week is that there's this weird credit on her IMDb filmography for being an audience member on the show Inside the Actors Studio.
That's a great credit.
Is that something you put on your resume? Like,
well,
let's say I was lucky enough to get me and the lady tickets to go see a taping of the show Maury. Do I put that down on my filmography? Or do I just cherish the memories I had while watching the show and leave IMDb completely out of it? Well, anyway, that's this week's Stallone connection. Actress and audience member Brianna Vinskis. I hope to hear from you soon. Your pal, Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
I'm going to tell you a credit that I have run across, like not that often, but more often than you'd think, is 5th grader from Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? I didn't realize those kids were actors until years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All those kids
That's
are
a credit I run across a lot. It's like all those kids are working adults.
I did not know
well,
that.
The big thing is that like the reason that all those kids are smart is because the majority of them are homeschooled or otherwise and stuff. So like they don't have the public.
Or they're given the numbers ahead of time, the answers ahead of time by Jeff Foxworthy.
Oh, just like 51.
Yeah.
You might be because the deal is the 5th grader gives an answer, then it's like Hollywood Squares, right? You either agree or disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it? Do they know this one? Yeah.
And I think Hollywood Squares, there was no secret that was the answer.
Oh, yeah, they give them ahead of time, yeah.
So the game is really, do you know the answer?
But the really fun part was when the kids started, like, going like Gilbert Gottfried, just saying really dirty stuff, and they had to cut it out for Fox broadcast. They're like, listen, we can't be doing none of that around here.
Strangely, one of the 5th graders was just Ben Stein with a wig.
I think it's 4. All right, here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our
People
own.
Find my politics troublesome.
We got our own patented Robin rating system here. Bruce, where does the Wonder Woman pilot from 2011 fall in the Robin rating system for you?
I strangely liked it. Like I said, I enjoyed kind of seeing what it looks like, because you don't see a lot of stuff that's unfinished, or at least I don't get to. So it was just kind of cool to see that. And it's not like, it doesn't look like unfinished footage that you'll see sometimes on a DVD or Blu-ray as extras.
It's not super raw.
It looks like it could be finished under the right budget, but it's not finished under a network budget. So that's what kind of makes it cool to me. Also, I don't really say this a whole lot, but if you're watching it with the male gaze, I mean, Adrian Palicki does look like he's drawn by Mark Silvestri. Like, there's just no 2 ways around it, man.
Not to mention that bad guy.
Elizabeth Hurley is just like unbelievably hot. It's like, dude.
Well, of course, everybody gives Hurley the love, but I don't know if people realize that Palicki, at least for the parts of her career that I'm familiar with, very couple of standard deviations above the mean in her anatomical ratio.
Hey, it's a feature of the show, not a bug.
Yes, for sure.
So anyway, I think it's worth watching. I'm going to give it, and I'm not trying to like troll anybody, but I'm giving it kind of a high Damian Wayne.
I'm right there with you. I'm a Damian Wayne on this too.
Oh, thank goodness! I thought you guys were going to think I was just doing,
No, I'm there with you. Like, it's right in the middle. Like, it's the nice part is that it is one thing. It's 45 minutes. It's a quick capture of this time and place, and it's interesting to see what could have possibly been an alternate timeline, if you will. And in the world of comics, where we deal with that kind of stuff on a fairly regular basis, that's kind of fun to see that in real life too.
How about you, Sean?
Well, for me, the best way I look at this is that I don't enjoy this show, but I do love watching all of these terrible pilots. So like, it's kind of like when somebody's like, "Hey, we're getting pizza," and you're like, "Yes," and they're like Domino's, and you're like, "All right,
Still pizza.
but still pizza,"
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I am with this show. Like, I didn't love watching it. It totally didn't pass the phone test. But it's still a really low Damian Wayne for me, just because it's so fun, and it's a blessedly hour and 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
So,
Could we just take a second to acknowledge again who it was that recommended this topic for this month? Because
Nate, baby.
Nate, I think this may go down as my favorite theme of any of the theme months we've done so far.
Absolutely.
It's been great.
Absolutely. I could do this. I literally could do this every week.
TV co-pilot in the making.
So that will do it for this episode of Hero Movie Podcast. We'll talk about the next failed pilot that we'll be talking about next week in just a moment. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Hey, just cruise on over to YouTube, youtube.com/c/Bruce Leslie, or you can use my YouTube handle @AnimeDad. Find some excellent videos there. Right now, the thing I'm really fired up to do is weekly reviews of every episode of the new reboot of Trigun called Trigun Stampede. And I've pulled Matthew Vandiver and I've pulled Chris from Anime IO and Chubby Wizard into the mix. So now we got 3 talking heads instead of just one discussing these anime episodes over on the channel. The first one's already up. Go check it out. The collaboration between the 3 of us. We had a lot of fun doing it.
You know what they say: if at first you don't succeed, you try gun again. Sean, what else?
You know how I call us the 3 heats, because from 30 Rock and all that stuff. If I may, when it's the 3 of you on your show, Bruce, the trifecta.
Ooh, I like that.
If I may. So we have another podcast called 30 Questions, where it's whatever nerdy property we're talking about at that time. The next one is Mandalorian season 3, which is less than 2 weeks away. Am I right?
Oh my god,
that was a little further than that, isn't it? No, March 1st.
Maybe 2 and
March
a half
1st.
weeks.
Okay, it's a month away.
Month away.
Okay.
Oh,
There you go.
Thank goodness. I was almost triggered.
I almost triggered for some excitement, man, because it feels like this has been quite the gap between seasons here. So I'm jonesing for a little Mando action.
It will be nice
Excited.
to see the Mandalorian doing very Mandalorian things again.
A favorite current show coming back can't be a bad thing.
That's true. And so stay tuned for that. And we have a bunch of 30 question shows. So check it out.
Yeah. I am doing my best to watch 365 movies this year. I'm going to chronicle them on TikTok. So just follow Adam Porches on TikTok and just to see all the movies and stuff that I'm going to be talking about. They're trying to keep me accountable to try to watch 365. Will I succeed? I don't know, but we're going to give it the old college try. One year I watched 100 new releases in the theater. So I don't think that
It had to be Movie Pass era.
Oh yeah. But I've done it. I've done close before, so I feel like I have the ability to do this. So check all that out. Next week, everybody, we're going to be talking about Clerks, not the animated one, not the movie. No, there was an unaired live-action TV pilot of Clerks starring Jim Brewer. It's available on YouTube right now, and that's what we're going to be reviewing next week. Nate, I didn't even know this was a thing. Nate brought it up in the email and everything, where he's like, "Hey, here's a whole bunch of these great ones." So I have not seen this. I feel like I may have heard about it once, but I have no recollection. So I'm kind of excited to see whatever let's be frank, it's got to be bad, right? There's no way this is
There
good.
is no way. There is no way that's good, and I can't wait.
But we'll see. We'll find all of that good stuff out, and we hope you will join us here next week. That is it, everybody. Join us for Clerks next week. For Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Porters. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Edie.